Today we're going to talk about how one viral TikTok changed the course of a 100-year-old business. And here on Culture Theory, we dissect the most successful and in some cases the least successful social media campaigns in the world and how they actually affect businesses. All right, so you may ask, how does a old, crusty, dusty, musty company like Ocean Spray that was founded in 1930 go viral on TikTok? The answer to that is they didn't. A man named Nathan Apodaca, also known as Dogface208 on TikTok, decided to post a video in September of 2020, and it's just him longboarding, drinking Ocean Spray, cran raspberry to be specific, vibing to Fleetwood Mac's Dreams song, okay? And one thing I want to make abundantly clear, this wasn't some planned influencer deal where Ocean Spray had this brilliant idea to team up with this influencer to make this video. Absolutely not. The story behind this, actually, I believe Dogface, his car broke down and he decided to take his longboard out. Now, why he had a bottle of Ocean Spray, why he was listening to music, hey, the man's just vibing out. But this was absolutely not planned, not coordinated at all. And this video, this simple video, absolutely exploded. 46 million views on the actual video. At this point, it's way more. This is from an article I read back then. Definitely more now. 800,000 likes and across reposts and just people talking about it, showing it on the news, all that stuff. 225 plus million views. And the CEO of Ocean Spray said the brand got 15 billion media impressions, which is profound. Never in history has there been a time where something like this can happen, where a brand gets this much exposure off of something a random person did. They didn't have to pay for this. This just happened. And we'll get into actually the value of the views in and of itself. First, I do want to talk about why it resonated. Now, I think a lot of people would just kind of write this off, take a look at this video, say, oh, it's fun, it's a vibe, yeah, it did really well, and kind of move on. But I don't want to do that because I think there's a much bigger reason why this video popped off the way it did. It wouldn't get this much attention if it was just another regular old video. What I think after watching this, so it was September 2020, a few months into the lockdowns. Now, this is a time where there was a lot of negativity. You could stay in your house only, a lot of fear was in the world. It felt like a very dark time. Depression was on the rise, unfortunately. And I personally think this video was the exact opposite of the way a lot of people were feeling. This guy was just riding his longboard, relaxing, vibing, a very carefree feel to the video. And I think that is a feeling that a lot of people missed. So I don't want to just write this off as a video that just happened. It was actually a very crucial moment in culture. And I think this video embodied the way people felt very, very well, which why it connected the way it did. So what I do want to mention is the effect it had on the business. Okay, let's talk about this. 2018 to 2019, it was flat or negative, their projections. But in 2020, Ocean Spray grew 6% and 8% in 2021. Now, this is profound. This is profound. To go from flat or declining to 6 to 8% growth is unbelievable. Some people might, write that off as, oh, it's not that much. But number one, to be a 8% swing into a positive is business changing, is game changing for them. And also the fact that they are a $2 billion a year company. So that 8% is a lot of money. And I just think it's so interesting, the effect that this video that they didn't create, they didn't plan, it just happened in the world, how much it affected the business. This kind of exposure, it's very hard to put a number about how much it has cost, but in the eyes alone, in the eyes they pulled in, not accounting to the sales that actually turned out, this was north of $500,000. Easily worth. Easily. Basically, if you were to take a post and put money behind it to reach that amount of views, it is a very, very, very large number, and it happened for free. Okay? And I think Ocean Spray did a very good job. So the lesson I want to pull from this is that, it's hard to say what they did right or wrong because they didn't have to do much, but what they absolutely did right is that they didn't try to steal the spotlight from Dogface. They didn't try to create some fast media campaign and turn it around really quick to try and join the hype, because that would have felt very anti-platform. That would have felt exactly the opposite of what ended up working, which was the video. They leaned into it nicely. They reposted his video. Obviously, it was doing very well, so they reposted it. And as this became a trend, people getting on their longboards, drinking their ocean spray, listening to their music, the CEO of Ocean Spray actually did the trend himself. I think that was a nice way to lean in organically, lean in natively, actually doing the trend rather than, like I said, some BS paid campaign that they were kind of just pumping out to pump out to try to jump on a train. I think they reacted very, very well. And that is kind of my point. We can't always control what happens outside of our own social media for our businesses. We have to be ready to react. And I think Ocean Spray did a very good job at reacting to this. They didn't try to steal the spotlight. They reacted in a good way. But one thing I do want to touch on is that is Ocean Spray's current social approach. And I find it to be a tad bit lackluster. I feel like after such a big moment like this, you would have kind of learned what can be so effective of your business. Like, if you look at their socials now, it's very, very, very product forward, very product in your face. And obviously that's like what a lot of businesses do, but that's not what works. As the algorithms are shifting from a interest-based algorithm compared to a following-based algorithm, you need to make content that people want to see, or else no one will see it. This product-forced stuff does not do well anymore, and I think they do a little bit too much of that. I rather see them lean into maybe audience use cases, what their audience does besides use their products, because I'm sure there's a lots of things in common that people do. Okay. And also, when I was going through their social, they do lean into some trends well sometimes. But overall, it does feel very curated. It feels like a lot of their content is speaking to people who already know them, or playing inside baseball is what one of my old colleagues used to say, where they just feel like they're talking to themselves. If you know, you know too much. It's too restricted, and I feel like they need to expand it a little more. And like I said, lean into those use cases. One thing I think they do well, they do lean into their actual business production sometimes, where because they're a very natural company. That's one of their benefits. They are very whole foods, natural, nature kind of feel. And when they feature their like cranberry pond or whatever, the water with the cranberries, that content does well when it gets to like the real, what actually takes to make the juice that your customer is consuming, rather than like the curated stuff. And it also does hit on a nostalgic factor. I don't know if you guys remember, but when I was younger, I used to see the commercial of them standing in the cranberry pond, and I just thought that was that's a nostalgic factor that can also be doubled down. And when that content works, like it's over-indexing, I would recommend for them to lean into that harder and harder and harder to really connect with your audience and people who don't know you yet. You know, people who need to discover you. Yes, you're an old brand. A lot of people know you, but more people can find out. So on social media, right? Get in front of new people and have them feel like they can relate to you. I just want to highlight like one video that somebody else made change the business, and I want people to realize how powerful social is in all aspects. That doesn't mean sit around and wait for this to happen, because a lot of companies do this for themselves. They create content that puts them at the front of culture. And that is what changes businesses. That is how you use social to change businesses. So that is all on Ocean Spray today. Next episode, I'm breaking down a project that I was actually a part of. It was Wingstop, where we found virality and we brought a product to life through that virality. So how to make a real life product out of something that was working online. We dived into that next episode. So I hope to catch you there.